Hey guys, just before we start this podcast episode, I would like to thank everyone for the support this year. Cal and I really do appreciate everyone who's liked, subscribed, shared, commented, all that good stuff. We love putting out these podcast episodes. Excuse the noise in the background, that is my computer. But yeah, we love putting out these podcast episodes and the mini reviews, and we just hope to produce more next year for you guys. And yeah, on behalf of Cal and myself, we wish every viewer a happy new year. And yeah, we'll be back in the new year with our final Star Wars podcast, which will be episode 7 through 9, including our Rise of Skywalker review. So, yes, thank you so much, guys. Take care and see you soon.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Movie Mates podcast. I am Matthew, here with my wonderful co-host and best friend,
Callum.
Callum. Good to see you, buddy. We're back with
Yeah.
another podcast episode, and as you've seen by the title, it's the original Star Wars trilogy, episodes 4 through 6.
Yes.
So Callum, do you want to let people know what sort of movies we're going to be talking about and what we're going to be talking about the movies?
Yeah, it's the movies,
Yeah.
4 through 6, as you said.
Yeah, so New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Full spoilers.
Yeah, you've nailed it.
Yeah. So, yeah, just before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below, and yeah, let's get into this.
Yeah.
New Hope.
Anyone who wants to send hate mail to Matthew, hit us up.
Why?
I think it's moviematespodcast@gmail.com. Is that right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hate mail. We'll read it. Did you test the mic?
Yeah.
It's working, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some bad times with a not working mic.
We have indeed. But yeah, we're back, and yeah, let's begin.
And to answer your question, I just want to see someone take you down a peg.
Okay.
You know.
Fair. Any points?
Quite a few, yeah.
It's been one of the weirdest podcasts ever. Okay.
I decided to go for something that
Yeah.
hasn't worked out, but I'm sure you'll have a fun time editing this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just thought we'd talk about the context, the history of Star Wars Episode 4.
Let's go with it.
So pretty much nobody trusted George Lucas with this. You know, they gave him a tiny budget. He had to fund the film almost entirely himself. You know, they tried to pull the plug on the project so many times. They tried to have him wrap up filming. It was a complete nightmare. You know, the production company he had working on the special effects, it was like a bunch of 20-year-olds, and they blew half the budget on 8 shots. More impressive that he pulled it all together.
The film worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
That they were actually able to pull it all together.
Yeah. I mean, this film was definitely a pioneer for films in general,
Yeah.
not just sci-fi. You know, what was it, 1970?
77, yeah. So it is pretty much the quintessential sci-fi film. I mean, when people talk about sci-fi films, you know, they think Blade Runner as the sort of forerunner for the sci-fi genre. And it's probably the best example of a sci-fi film, but you know, it's not as though it was the first to do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, but no, I just think this film is just so iconic in general. Like the casting's phenomenal. Throughout.
Is it?
Well, who do you not like?
I think Alec Guinness gets a lot more credit than he deserves.
Yeah, I think Alec Guinness.
Well, he's barely in it, and he's a bit of a creep, you know. You know, sorry to all the Guinness heads out there, but you know, I just don't think he's certainly not the best performance of the film, but so I'm surprised that Obi-Wan Kenobi became such a cultural sensation, because I really don't think the performance is anything special.
Okay, fair. Who is your favorite casting?
I don't know, because I like the character of Luke, but his performance, especially in this film, is sort of like of a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, Anakin-esque.
It is Anakin-esque, yeah. Just, you know, when his uncle's trying to buy some new droids, and he's like, but I want to go out with my friends!
And then they get brutally killed. His uncle and I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to give this film credit for CGI, like as you said. Like,
I mean,
and special
obviously,
effects.
like the versions that we're watching aren't theatrical versions, because they were never converted to digital or DVD. So the only theatrical copies of the theatrical film that exists are on VHS, and the memories of those who saw the films in the cinema. So several scenes in the original trilogy that I watched and presumably you watched as well are heavily altered. Well, not heavily altered. Everything, everything special and meaningful remains the same.
Mm-hmm.
Just some artificial and visual details are changed. But I think we have to give props to the music.
Oh, I mean, it's a John Williams score.
I think this can be said for all three of the films. So I think if we mention it here, we can leave it for all the other ones.
Yeah, it's probably the most iconic film score of all time. I would say, especially the Darth Vader theme.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's not necessarily the best, but I think it's the most iconic. Do you think how do you think John Williams compares to other composers?
I think he likes I know all composers use an orchestra for the most part, but he definitely loves like an orchestral-esque theme. This one's very like grand and audacious, whereas like other film composers like Alan Silvestri and Danny Elfman and stuff prefer more low-key sounds.
Yeah.
But no, I think he's excellent. I think he still holds up.
I agree. Hans Zimmer just loves like thumping noises.
Yeah, his more like techno, I suppose, as well in some instances.
Somewhat. I mean, his are more violent and grand.
Yeah.
As you say.
Yeah.
I think we have to say about the Darth Vader suit.
Fantastic, isn't it?
It's one of the most incredible villain designs I think I've ever seen.
Absolutely, especially the mask.
Yeah. How do you think it converted to the modern day in Rogue One? I kind of prefer it here than I did in Rogue One.
Yeah, I suppose it does look a bit better here. Like I think, like the practical effects, especially on the Vader suit as well as C-3PO and R2-D2, excellent. Like, is R2 played by a real person as well?
Yeah, he's played by Kenny Baker.
Oh yes.
I think we should talk about Kenny Baker and Anthony Daniels.
Yeah.
Because they fucking hate each other.
Do they?
Well, I mean, Kenny Baker died recently, but before his death, Kenny Baker and Anthony Daniels really did not get on. More specific. Oh, because Anthony Daniels is a dickhead. Apparently there was one instance. I mean, this is awful, where Kenny Baker was trying to convince Anthony Daniels to go to visit a Comic-Con with him, to meet fans, and Anthony Daniels said something along the lines of, that's beneath me, little man.
No.
Yeah. Like, Anthony Daniels, from what I've heard, just sounds like a piece of shit.
That's not a very nice thing to say, is it?
Oh no, it's an awful thing to say.
Brutal. I didn't realise that Anthony Daniels was, he seems like such a nice guy. He plays such a nice and innocent character in C-3PO, but then that's like a horrible thing to say, just, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny Baker, from what I can comprehend, didn't seem to be the aggressor in any situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's surprising that they can convincingly play such good friends on screen.
Absolutely.
I suppose that's a testament to their acting.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose we got to give this film credit for so many like iconic, locations as well. Especially I think Tatooine.
Yeah, there's very strong name recognition.
Yeah, we see Hoth and Empire and stuff like that. Like these are really recognizable planets. Like people in the street would probably have heard of.
And the Death Star even.
Is
such an iconic
and
location.
it looks awesome.
Okay. No, I agree with you. That sounded like I was going for a disagree, but no, I actually do really like it. I think we need to talk about the Darth Vader voice, and Darth Vader himself, David Prowse.
He doesn't go for James Earl Jones. I mean, that's just the voice.
I said to you when we filmed I think it was the Rogue One episode, that I would explain to you David Prowse's beef with Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
It's honestly just because they treat David Prowse like such shit. So David Prowse is an English actor, and to his knowledge, he was cast as Darth Vader. So on set, he was obviously using his voice, but all of the crew were making fun of him, and they started calling him Darth Farmer. So this guy is walking around, being this intimidating character, and he's using this I think he's northern, maybe, just a heavily English accent, and just everyone's making fun of him, and I find that's so depressing. And he didn't know until he went to see the film that he'd been replaced voice-wise with James Earl Jones.
Is that like George Lucas's fault, do you think?
I think it was the consensus of the whole crew that he should be replaced, but he didn't know that. And then he was even more dicked over in Return of the Jedi because Sebastian Shaw plays Anakin Skywalker, but again David Prowse assumed that he would be able to play that character because he was Darth Vader,
Yeah.
so obviously he'd be Darth Vader under the mask,
Yeah.
and they were like, no,
Oh.
let's get in Sebastian Shaw. So I feel kind of bad for David Prowse,
Absolutely, yeah.
but I mean
We've seen him in the flesh.
I have not. I have no idea what you're talking about, Matthew.
Did you go to Comic-Con 2016?
I don't think so, Matthew.
No.
No.
Apparently he was a guest there.
Yeah, you referenced that in a previous episode as though I'd been there, and I know for a fact I was not.
You were there in spirit, my friend. Force spirit. But
Wow, sick reference, bro.
Yeah, I feel bad for some of the cast here. Like, it seems like a lot of them have been just
Dicked over.
Dicked over, yeah.
But I guess that that it was a very troubled production, so I guess you can understand some undercuttings. But I mean, tell the guy before you replace the voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he thought he'd be associated with this amazing character, because the character's so well written, he's such an intimidating, great villain, and then they just completely, cut him out.
Yeah,
Hardly anyone knows his name. I mean, you've seen him in person, and did you know his name before I said it?
it sounds familiar, but no, I didn't know it.
No, I would say almost no one does, and that's depressing. I'll be honest.
He's more Darth Vader than James Earl Jones was, probably.
Well,
Jim,
I mean,
because he was actually there.
he was actually there. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, rough. I just had I mean, these are my gripes with it.
Sure.
Probably don't shoot the stormtroopers. Like if you're trying to convince them that you're an Imperial ambassador, Princess Leia.
Yeah, you're supposed to fit in, not just
Yeah, if they're boarding your spacecraft, just say, we're on the same side. Don't kill them.
Don't be violent. Yeah. Leia's message that that Luke accidentally triggers.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
What
a fucking creep.
It's a bit on the nose. I know it's not like 1977 and stuff, but I thought like Luke accidentally triggering the Leia message is quite ridiculous.
Well, I suppose R2-D2 couldn't communicate with Luke, so maybe he played it.
I guess.
To get Luke's help.
Hmm.
But just, it's rough when he says how beautiful Princess Leia is.
It's your sister.
It's just so gross.
Yeah.
But obviously George Lucas didn't know that when he wrote this, because, no matter how strong he asserts it, he was definitely making this up as he went along. Let's be honest. Well, like he would say, nah, I'm just a genius. Yeah. Even though like he envisioned this as like a one film thing.
Mm-hmm.
So initially he never thought that like Darth Vader would be Luke's dad until the second one.
He thought it was a good idea.
And then even I don't think George Lucas had thought that Princess Leia should be his sister until the third one. I still don't think we'll talk about the kiss later.
We will
in the second film, but like Jesus Christ. So Darth Vader references the Senate, and they say that the Emperor needs to keep the Senate in order to control the bureaucracy. But if you have a dictatorship, why even have like the false concept of democracy?
It's the same thing. If he's an evil mastermind, why would he bother with the tedious task of controlling a democracy?
I have no idea, honestly. I don't understand why people would willingly raise Darth Vader's children, because obviously we see like Organa, whatever his first name is, I don't know, and then the moisture farmers, Owen and something.
I'll have a wee look.
I
don't know.
Some shit. I don't know. Cut this out. And something. Who cares? Don't bother, Matthew.
You sure?
Yeah. Who cares?
Who
I'm
cares?
putting that out there.
Yeah.
No one cares.
When they get killed.
Yeah, they're dead anyway. Who cares?
But
who would willingly raise Darth Vader's children with the thought that like he could come with an army to kill them?
Yeah, which he does. I sort of want to talk to you. Like, do you think Luke's a very selfish character because he only decides to help the cause of the Resistance when he loses something, and that is his family?
No, I mean I think entering any kind of warfare should be a choice. So I don't think it's selfish to to not
I don't think he's selfish either. Just I thought that could be a point that
You thought I might assert that?
No, I just thought like a few, like maybe others could argue that like there are other points that tie into that, and like a few other films I've got, like especially Last Jedi, which I have a little bit of criticisms in for, but
Ooh, wow.
Stay tuned, guys.
I don't know why his aunt didn't tell him that like. I don't know why they wouldn't lie to him and say that they're his parents.
Yeah.
Because then that causes him to question, oh well, then who was my
was
dad?
Yeah, true.
Like surely.
They should just lie.
Yeah, they're lying already by saying that his dad's dead. So like, why not just go a step further and stay there? Yeah.
Yeah.
You get that, right?
Oh yeah.
I think that would have been a much better idea.
100%.
Luke on Tatooine, is incredibly shot and lit.
And that's very famous.
I've never seen like a desert, look more impressive.
Especially with the two suns as well.
Yeah, that was all shot. I think. It was shot somewhere embarrassing.
Portrush.
No, it was sort of like it was England, I think. So like I don't know how they managed like a desert scape.
I don't know, but.
Don't correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
Anyone who's listening, I'm fine. I'm just throwing these out there,
But
I'm not expecting criticism. Please don't give it to me.
No, don't criticize Callum, guys. He tries his.
Yeah, I try my best. I guess I was also just wondering, they have laser swords, but not HD binoculars.
Yeah.
Like you can barely see through them.
Like lightsabers, pretty high tech. Binoculars.
No.
On the subject of lightsabers, I think this film, the battles are so like slow and mundane, especially
the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader.
Alec Guinness is a great actor, but I think he struggled to sell the physicality of a scene with Vader.
I mean, they just lightly slap them twice, and then he just stands there waiting for death.
That scene just annoys me. He just allows himself to die.
Because then he's like, I'll be stronger after I'm dead.
Yeah,
no,
but he could have stopped Vader.
Yeah, and his only power after he dies is that he can reach Luke anywhere he is. But I mean, he could have done that when he was alive.
I have a thing to point out to you about the rise of Skywalker, about Force ghosts.
Okay. I mean, do that when we're reviewing that film, I guess.
I will. But yeah, I mean, I think the Obi-Wan versus Vader lightsaber battle, it's just terrible.
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
Luckily, they get better.
Yeah, thankfully. So, when Alec Guinness gives sort of like the exposition dump about the Force, usually I would hate that kind of thing.
I think it works.
But I think it works because Mark Hamill like sells himself as a curious character.
Yeah.
I think.
How old's Hamill here? Like 20s?
Early 20s. So I honestly think like he plays a curious character so convincingly that I didn't have a problem.
No, not at all. I thought it was great. Do you want to talk about Chewie and Han Solo?
Sure. Yeah.
Great costume for Chewbacca, I think.
Yeah, for the time.
Yeah, like I'm glad they didn't go for like CGI.
Yeah, I'm glad even like in Solo, a Star Wars story, they didn't just like slap a CGI Chewbacca in, because that would have been so easy to do.
I didn't realize before I watched this, like Han Solo's not in it that much.
Oh, he's
not in it until.
Well, I think there are too many characters and there just isn't enough time for any of them. Because genuinely, this, like I'd never seen this film before, and it was hyped up as such an amazing film, and how iconic all these characters are being introduced in this film. It's like none of them are in it very much,
Especially Solo.
Yeah, especially Solo. But we talked about in Solo, a Star Wars story, how they seemed like two different characters.
Yeah.
But I actually thought, based on seeing this film, that I think.
Think you buy it?
I think I buy that. Han Solo could have been just a genuinely nice guy, and he just became like a bit more selfish. I thought it was a believable shift. Like I think that Alden Ehrenreich was a sort of appropriate younger Han Solo.
I actually think. Yeah, I suppose I agree with you. Like Alden Ehrenreich, sort of nice guy, and then Han Solo sort of becomes more arrogant and selfish.
Yeah, he's still nice.
I would say by Force Awakens, he's probably back to like Alden Ehrenreich style characterization. I suppose.
Yeah, I guess.
He's I suppose he's older. He's a lot nicer in that film.
Yeah, and he's already lived his life, so he isn't sort of corrupted by material greed.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I was well put. Yeah, agreed. Han Solo loves an unbuttoned Henley, doesn't he? Like, there's one scene in particular about maybe 4/5 of the way through. There's a lot of chest on show, I suppose Harrison Ford is.
To be fair, you love an open button check shirt.
I've been
don't you?
told that, yeah.
Yeah. By who?
Uh,
Anyone other than me?
Owen.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I suppose Harrison Ford was a well-renowned babe at the time.
Was he?
With the local ladies.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, do I need to talk about Harrison Ford being a bit of a?
Yeah, you do. What happened?
Do I?
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, like Carrie Fisher for this film was told to lose 10 pounds, and she was sent to what she referred to as a fat farm, to lose the 10 pounds. So she was already having a rough go of it in this production, and then over the course of I think this film and the second one, Harrison Ford was married, and there was one incident that incited occurrences in which sort of the crew was plying her with alcohol.
His wife?
No, the crew was plying Carrie Fisher with alcohol. This is all, in relevance, I believe, to her diaries. And it's grim. Like, they think that they were planning something dubious or sinister, the crew members. So Harrison Ford stepped in, and, sent them on their way and protected Carrie Fisher. And then moments later, they were making out in his car. And she was, I think, she was 18 or 19, and I mean, I don't know what age he was. Was he in his 30s? He would have been in his 30s, and he was married. And then that was the
taking advantage of her.
Yep, and then that was the inciting incident, and they had a full-fledged affair. Did you know about this?
They had an affair?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she always held like a torch for him, thinking that they could be together. And she even said, like, I think a year before her death, that there was still time for them. So like she loved him for like the rest of her life, and like he went on and married, Callista Flockhart. So yeah, Harrison Ford.
Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why people love Carrie Fisher, because they sort of see that she didn't get an easy go in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
This tone of the podcast has gone down.
That's interesting though. Like it's
interesting to hear. She wrote a lot of poems about him being sort of the best and the worst thing in her life, because she was sort of addicted to the relationship with him, but he couldn't give her any emotional
reciprocal love.
Yeah, he couldn't show emotions towards her because he was such a stoic guy and he was married.
Yeah,
so
Jesus. I did not know that.
No. Yeah.
Han Solo. Oh Jesus.
Rough.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I liked Harrison Ford before I heard all that.
So did I. Welcome back to the Movements Podcast. The way.
Sometimes our tangents are positive, sometimes they're negative, guys.
That's interesting. One thing I wanted to. So my only major criticism of the film is that Luke is quite a young man in this.
Yes.
And he's such a natural pilot, apparently. Like he learns it so quickly.
Well, I suppose Anakin Skywalker was like 9 years old and he was the best pod racer on his planet. So I suppose it's reasonable that because Luke is force sensitive that he, picked it up.
I guess. Like the Force is, it gets very convoluted, I think, in the franchise, like what the capabilities of Force spirits are and the like.
Yeah, they sort of play fast and loose with the rules a lot. It's telekinesis, and you can control people's minds, and
you're
this and that.
Powerful.
Yeah, I think they do play fast and loose with the rules a bit too much.
I think the Obi-Wan Force spirit is quite dated, especially this one. Yeah.
I mean, I think it remains consistent in the franchise because they recognized it was a pretty decent special effect.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good special effect, definitely. But I think that the concept, maybe now because we've seen it so many times, it's dated. But I think
I don't understand why Obi-Wan taught Luke the Force knowing that his father was Darth Vader, because surely he would be like, oh well, I'll not even tell him about the Force so he can't be corrupted to the dark side.
I guess maybe they just needed someone to stop him. But then, yeah, I mean, you sort of think, if he didn't teach him the Force, then,
Well, I suppose that, they wouldn't have defeated the Empire.
Yeah. But then you don't know what would have happened if he didn't feature the Force. Like Darth Vader might have just been like, oh well, might just end his evil pursuits. Because I don't think Vader's like an evil character. Like he's quite similar to. Well, I mean, he kills billions. But
Good guy.
The Emperor.
Matthew, can you please put this aside for a fictional character and say like he's not a good guy?
What I'm trying to say is
okay.
the Emperor is the root of evil in the dark side, not Darth Vader. Like Darth Vader's just his underling. Obviously we see it by Return of the Jedi. Like Vader's somewhat of a noble guy.
We'll talk about that in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
But yes, I agree. He isn't the most evil of the Sith.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. So in the version that we watched, the version I presume you watched was like the new release from the 2000s.
I think so, yeah.
And to you, was it obvious that Han shot first?
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the people that actually have these arguments, and I don't understand people's motivation for having this argument, but people seem to have wanted Han to shoot first. People say, oh no, Han shot first, and he's cool.
Yeah.
He's a cool
he's
murderer.
A
He's a cool murderer.
Yeah.
And I don't really get that, because why do you want your hero to be sort of morally corrupt?
And brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Because I think
So
he could have handled Greedo in a non-lethal manner.
Yeah.
I don't think he had to kill him.
No, he definitely didn't have to kill him, but I think it's probably in his character thereabouts to act that way, I suppose.
Yeah. And then did you, in your version, was there a scene with Jabba the Hutt?
With Luke? Jabba?
In this film, was there a scene where like Jabba confronts Han?
Yes, there were, yeah.
Yeah, that was not in the theatrical version because Jabba was meant to be left as a reveal for the third film.
I think Jabba looks a lot different. I don't know what it is. Whether it was just
I can tell you why.
Why?
It's because this was a deleted scene that they shot for the 77 version. But that in that original scene, it was just a man in a vest. It was like
Really?
a human man in a vest. That's why at the end he says to Jabba sarcastically, you're a great human being, because he was a human man wearing a vest.
Wow.
And then George Lucas retroactively added that back in and slapped a CGI version of the character he introduced in the third film.
Yeah.
So
I was wondering why it looked a bit different.
It's because the third one is a practical effect, and the one that has been retroactively added to this one was a CGI effect.
I think I prefer the practical one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. This looks like a veiny rat.
Yeah, true.
I meant to say
slug.
I meant to say slug. Yeah, I don't know.
Rat.
I went a different way, Matthew.
Yeah, you did. Hey, you're more than welcome to.
I'm particularly impressed by the explosion effects in this film.
Absolutely. I was just probably pioneering. The film was a pioneer, I suppose, for action in general.
Yeah.
And especially the explosions.
Again,
especially.
they were retroactively souped up. Because I've seen the original shot of the Death Star exploding, and that's still impressive. But this new version is even more next level. Yeah.
I don't know, the way sort of I think especially Star Wars, the scaling of it, you can't tell when it explodes whether it's a small object that they filmed really close to make it look like it's exploded, or how big is it? Because it does. I assume it's practical effects in the original, especially.
Yeah, they do the kind of, I'm gonna use this phrase again, play fast and loose with perspective.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
because
perspective.
Sort of you see the Millennium Falcon approaching the Death Star, and it looks really tiny.
Yeah.
But then the next shot is then really close to it, and it's fucking huge.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, obviously that's just because they were using models.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is confusing to see.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why Han Solo doesn't believe in the Force, because the Jedi Knights were only wiped out 20 years before the events of this film.
Yeah, he probably would have been alive to see them.
Oh yeah, 100% would have been alive. So I don't understand why he sort of thinks that Jedis are a myth.
Maybe he's too cool.
Yeah, he's too cool.
Yeah.
He refers to it as a religion, and I'm like, well, it's not a religion because this is objective truth.
Oh yeah.
You've seen people use the Force, and he's like, I don't buy it.
Yeah. Han. Silly goose.
Yeah. Why do I always write things in abbreviations? So I've written Luke Skywalker, farm boy, doesn't bat an eye at all the killing he does.
He's cold-blooded.
No, yeah, because he seems like an innocent little boy, and then he's just blasting like 100 stormtroopers.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guess do you want to talk about the stormtrooper stereotype of poor aim and dodgy armor?
Yeah, I suppose it's just because they can't see much in the helmets.
And I suppose the director needed someone need some action and people to kill to make the crew look good. Because if they went up against Vader all the time, it would be pretty repetitive.
You need some pawns to just blow away.
Exactly.
Brutal. And then there's of course the famous head conk from one of the stormtroopers when they don't make it under the door. But obviously that was an accident.
Yeah.
But George Lucas thought it was so funny that he actually added a conk sound effect. Sound effect.
This film, these films love sound effects, especially the Wilhelm scream.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love an exaggerated sound effect, especially in an older film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why people. I always assumed that Obi-Wan Kenobi died at the end. I thought I thought that the final battle was sort of revenge for Obi-Wan, but I thought that he died much further into the film than he does. I think he dies quite early on.
Oh yeah.
Which is why I'm kind of surprised that people find Alec Guinness's performance so iconic. Just because I think he's barely in it.
Yeah, exactly. Comparing the lightsaber, the Obi-Wan from the prequels to Alec Guinness, I know he's a lot older, he's an older man.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, can I just mention, there's meant to be 20 years between the prequels and this film, and he's aged 45 years.
And also, his lightsaber skills have gotten way shitter.
And Darth Vader's he's alive? I'm it's literally been 20 years since he was 35. He should be 55, but Alec Guinness looks about 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of confused by that continuity.
How old's Vader? Must be 40?
45, yeah.
Hmm.
I had this thought during the film because I'm usually you have a really young villain. I mean, just in films in general, but let's use Star Wars as an example. You either have a really young villain like Kylo Ren, or a really old villain like the Emperor. You never see middle-aged dads as the villain.
Really
I think the films would have been hilarious if it was just Sebastian Shaw without the helmet, just him in a little spaceship.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, but I know what you mean. This film sort of breaks the mold of it has someone in their prime be the villain. Well,
yeah. This film breaks so many boundaries of filmmaking. I mean, I didn't realize until about 3/4 into the film that Darth Vader and Luke never actually meet in this film.
True, it's Empire, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's Empire when they actually first face off against each other, and even then, it's how does Luke even know what Darth Vader looks like for
I guess he's heard rumblings.
No, but you know the way he has the cave trial. How does he even know what Darth Vader looks like? He's never seen him before.
I don't know. The Force, I gotta go with.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's the go-to. That's the go-to get out of jail free card. Yeah. I think it's so gross watching Luke try to impress Leia.
Very much. Well, especially retroactively or retrospectively.
Both are correct.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, because obviously the people who saw this in the cinema were just oh yeah, two attractive young people. Of course they'd be interested in each other, and then it's just so off-putting to watch.
It gets worse in Empire, I think.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Okay, I sometimes I just can't read my own handwriting, but I always assumed that Han Solo was a piece of shit. But he did his job and got paid, so he doesn't owe the rebellion anything. So the way they're kind of oh Han, you're such a dickhead for ditching the rebellion. I'm he's literally just here doing a job. He never signed up for a war.
He never promised he'd stay.
He promised to just transport them, and he did even more than that.
I think he's a nice guy.
Oh yeah,
I
think so. I don't even think he's a rogue in this film. That's sort of the reputation that I've projected onto him from pop culture. But then seeing it in the film, I think he's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
Who tells people as it is. You know, he's like, oh, I'm doing a job for money and then I'm gonna leave.
I guess,
and then he does.
I guess it's because he's characterized like a suave ladies man as well. Like,
yeah, people are like, oh, he must be a dickhead.
He's a bad boy, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. And like, I felt in this film that there were actually, you know, real stakes because, you know, there's a lot of death and there's time pressure in the, you know, they have to blow up the Death Star before the Death Star can fire up to destroy the rebel base.
Yeah.
But, you know, I actually felt real stakes for once in a film franchise,
yeah, absolutely.
which is rare, honestly. That's all I have, really. If there's anything else you had to say?
Not really, bro. I just think this is a really great film.
Surprisingly, so do I, Matthew.
Yeah, I would rate it an 8 out of 10.
Did I give Rogue One a 9 out of 10?
Yeah.
I think I need to give Rogue One an 8 out of 10. I'm retroactively saying an 8 out of 10 for Rogue One, guys.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm bumping it down, and then I think I'm gonna put this in at an 8.5.
Ooh, slightly better than Rogue One for you.
It is marginally better than Rogue One for me.
Interesting. Well, I suppose we should move on to probably regarded as one of the best films of all time, if not the best sequel of all time.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, Matthew. Did you watch all of it?
Callum, what are your thoughts of Empire Strikes Back?
That was a great film,
Great
Matthew.
film. I've not finished it yet.
Yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. I guess I'll lead this discussion.
I'll be with you till 3/4 of the way through.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I think you can always trust a Star Wars film to have a good opening action scene.
Absolutely.
You know, I knew that obviously there was an impending Wampa attack because, you know, I am knowledgeable about the franchise, but I had no idea it was, you know, like the opening scene of the film.
That looks cool, doesn't it?
Oh, it's incredibly impressive, I think, you know, especially because there are some CGI, you know, adjustments made to it these days, but, you know, for the most part it's practical, and I think it's incredibly impressive.
As well.
It is huge, yeah. I think the scene where it's sort of like, you know, I mean, eating something and like there's sort of like blood all over its fur.
Yeah.
I think that was a deleted scene.
It's white as well, and that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
excellent. It's just the whole cinematography on Hoth is excellent,
Yeah.
and you know, I just think Luke versus the Wampa. Well, I say versus, like he gets destroyed almost.
The Wampa.
Yeah.
Just like what happened? Did it get cut in half, or did he cut its arms off or something?
I think he gets his lightsaber and chops it. Yeah, chops it up. But yeah, like I just have so much positive acclaim just to say about the action in this film in general. I mean, we'll get on to the AT-ATs
Yeah, sure.
later on, but yeah, I mean, yeah, the Wampa looks awesome.
I think the next important thing to note is the sibling tonguing.
Oh yeah, I noticed the lick of the lips there.
What?
No, you meant like the sibling tonguing.
Oh, don't call it a sibling romance.
That's what it is. They kiss.
Well, I mean, she does it to spite Han because he thinks that she's interested in him, which she is.
She is, yeah.
So she's just like, kiss my brother, I guess.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I like shivered with disgust.
Yeah.
In this film.
This film is I think this film, I know because it's 1980s. Like, it's in the middle of like cheesy scenes from the 70s and like sort of newer scenes from the 90s. But like, there's so many like things that aren't supposed to be funny but are genuinely hilarious.
Such as.
You know Han Solo's, is it like a tan, like the little camel thing in the snow that dies? Like,
I wouldn't know the species, but I know what scene you're talking about.
Just like flops, flops to death. I love that. I thought that was hilarious.
Okay, Matthew.
I thought
a bit of a grim sense of humor for a vegetarian.
Yeah.
I love watching that animal die.
No, I think Yoda's also like unintentional. Maybe Yoda's funny. It's supposed to be funny.
I think Yoda's humor is intentional. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I got sidetracked there.
Well, if you want to get onto the AT-ATs assault, I find it incredibly impressive.
Absolutely, and we talked in A New Hope about like perspective. Obviously, the AT-ATs to a certain extent are models. I would imagine.
Yeah.
And reinforced with CGI, perhaps.
I really don't think there was much CGI involved. Every effect in this film is incredible. Like, I really expected. I'll be honest. I expected to hate the original trilogy, because usually I don't enjoy popular films. Usually I'd seem to have just a countering opinion to most people, but I honestly share the public consensus with these films.
It makes me curious as to why they don't use them more in later films.
Like models and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess just because our standards have changed.
Yeah.
But
or just the AT-ATs in general, they're underused, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we only see them in this film, Return of the Jedi and Rogue One. So yeah, I guess because just in further ones, the ones after that went into the past, so they couldn't use them, and then they went into the future and had even more impressive weapons.
Yeah.
So I guess, they're sort of trying to limit the weaknesses of the things, and obviously being able to trip it is quite a big weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. But they look awesome. The design is cool.
Oh, they look incredible, yeah. Like giant dogs or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely. Or I suppose more like a giraffe.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I made a note to talk about Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, so yep, covered that.
Yep. I think the Obi-Wan Force Ghost appears to look in the wilderness, and Hoth is... It's a little silly, I think.
Yeah, I honestly only thought Alec Guinness was in the first film. I had no idea he was in this film.
I didn't know until I watched started it.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the full thing.
Yeah, can't give yourself full credit.
Yeah, that he was in it. But for the most part, he's good. The acting's good, but I just think the concept is a little silly.
Yeah. So obviously, while we're talking about Dagobah, I really think that the Yoda puppet holds up.
Absolutely.
I think the voice by Frank Oz is incredible.
I think that this Yoda, the CGI Yoda in the prequels,
yeah,
it seems pretty big, a lot bigger than the puppet. I don't know if you noticed that or not. The puppet is really small.
Well, originally, they had such low budgets for these films. They intended to just train a monkey and put a mask on it. but then they also...
This wasn't Lucas, was it?
This one? No, this was directed by Irving Kershner. And I think it's probably the better for it. I think George Lucas is more of an ideas man, and less of a director, because obviously the only other films he directed in the franchise were the prequels.
Yeah.
Which are perfectly serviceable in my opinion.
Not quite Empire though.
No, and they're nowhere near as visually impressive.
Excuse me.
We're both a bit tired. We were binge watching these films last night. Both of us. We have been very busy.
The Yoda puppet is great for 1980.
Absolutely,
it's excellent and really great voice work.
Yeah, I don't really understand Yoda the improv comedian. Where he's just dicking Luke about.
Yeah.
He says it's sort of to test his patience, but I mean, anyone's gonna get impatient with a dickhead.
Yeah.
Be like, well, I don't know where Yoda is, but come over to my hut and I'll tell you where he is.
Yeah.
But also, I'm Yoda.
Yeah, I know. Yoda.
I've just written, does he pretend for shits and giggles? I suppose so.
Yoda.
Because he's... Yeah, Yoda pretends to not be Yoda, just I guess because he's lonely.
I don't know. He just exiles himself.
Just wanted to laugh.
Poor guy. But yeah, I think this film has a lot of of course that happens moments, if you know what I mean.
I don't, Matthew.
So on the nose moments that are quite ridiculous for the plot, we talked about. Well, for me, the Obi-Wan Force Ghost, and then the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive malfunctioning during the chase.
Yeah, and then Han Solo is always screaming that's not my fault, and then Lando says that's not my fault, and it turns out it wasn't Lando's fault, but it probably was Han Solo's fault.
Probably so.
Also, Leia, I don't think that Leia does love Han. I think he just slowly wore her down.
Oh, do you think romance is genuine?
Well, no, because he's come on,
yeah.
And she's
kiss me.
She's no, I don't like you. And he's come on. And then she's no, and then he's nah, I'm gonna kiss you. And then
she does tell him that he loves her. Sorry, she does tell him that.
Yeah, but I think that was I think he
knows.
I think he incepted that into her.
Yeah.
I don't think she actually felt it until he made her do. Maybe he's force sensitive and it was a Jedi mind trick.
Maybe, imagine.
What a creep.
Boba Fett, costume is great. Shit bounty hunter.
Oh, he is a completely shit bounty hunter. I thought we'd probably get onto this more in the Return of the Jedi, because he's even more inept in that film.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah,
I think his costume's awesome.
Yeah, he is. His costume is awesome in this film. One character like I wish we'd seen more of is IG-88, who's one of the the droid bounty hunter, because I think that's an amazing design.
Absolutely.
I would like to see more of that character.
Mm-hmm.
But Boba Fett, I don't think you see his peak ineptness in this film.
No,
but we will absolutely
we'll talk about
it
the escape scene during Return of the Jedi.
I'm just wondering, is Skywalker like this? Are you lying down?
Yeah, I'm so tired.
Wow. Okay. I guess I'll move the mic.
No, it's fine. No, don't worry about it.
Pushes it away. I was just wondering, like, is Luke like? Is Skywalker the Smith of space? Because because Darth Vader's like, oh, he's referring to him as young Skywalker, and then the Emperor is like, oh yeah, I think young Skywalker is your son, and he's like, what?
What?
I'm like, you have the same surname. Like, is it just? Do you think it's just like incredibly common?
I prefer Luke Stark. Luke Starkiller is better. But yeah, like Skywalker is a pretty audacious name, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess not in this continuity.
I suppose do you want to talk about probably the most famous scene of all time?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Not like you saw it, you know. There's quite a bit between that. I know you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But that.
Oh no, I've got a few points before that.
Oh wow.
Don't you worry.
Oh goddamn.
Don't you worry.
Yeah.
I've got Cloud City stuff. Don't you worry.
Okay. How did you feel when Lando betrayed them?
Very in character, I suppose.
It does seem in
from
character.
watching Rogue One, you know. But yeah.
Oh, you mean Solo?
Sorry, Solo.
Yeah, no, I felt just a burning hot rage.
Oh.
I was like, oh, Lando, you
I suppose it's like a
shit.
triple cross, isn't it?
Well, not really, because like he just sort of backs out of the deal with the Empire because it no longer appeals
services
to him.
him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do like the character. He's sort of like, but I think he's probably too similar to Han Solo. Like you couldn't like it'd be a bit overkill if he was in a main. I mean, he is a main character, but he's not like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but also like from what we see, he obviously when they enter Cloud City, they welcome Lando welcomes them, but like he seems really pissed at Han, and I'm like, you are without doubt a bigger piece of shit than Han.
Yeah.
Which is evidenced by Solo and by his actions in this film.
I think Cloud City, the great effects for 1980.
Yeah,
And
that's also been slightly changed.
Yeah, when the Millennium Falcon flies into Cloud City, like it's CG, but it's good. Yeah, but it's good CG.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually disgusted at old effects, but everything in all of these films is really impressive to me.
Absolutely.
Which I'm sure will surprise some people because I often have negative opinions of films that are held in great regard. But what was your reaction to I Know?
I love you. I know. Classic Han, really. But then he's...
Well, you can't really say classic Han when you're like 2 films in.
True.
He isn't. He's not so iconic at that point that it is classic Han.
Do you think their romance is believable?
No, not at all.
No.
But I suppose we haven't seen the building of the flirtation. It kind of just goes from them barely interacting to them being in love.
True.
We can't comment on stuff we don't see. So from what we've seen, I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's implicit that they fell in love.
I suppose so. Like, I know this is where I stopped watching, but the Han Solo, I have seen clips of this, and obviously in Return of the Jedi it is shown. But Han Solo, is it? What's the name of it? Part of me says carbonite, but that's not. Is it carbonite? Is it that what it's called? Yeah, like when he's frozen in carbonite, like that. Those effects are good. Like the mold of his face.
Okay.
Do you not think it's good?
No, I don't think it's good. Like, where's half his body? Like his forearms and his head are sticking out, but then like a
Legs.
human body is thicker than like that slab of carbonite.
True.
So yeah, I don't know about that. I'm a bit dubious of that. Okay, so Anakin is meant to be the chosen one, but like he seems much less proficient in his use of the Force than Luke.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Luke's just meant
Luke's
to be
a lot younger as well.
And Luke's just meant to be like a standard Jedi. Darth Vader's meant to be like the chosen
one to bring balance. Yeah.
Yeah, but I suppose I don't even understand how he uses the Force with his hands when they aren't his hands. Like they're all robotic limbs. So like, how is he even able to like Force choke people?
I know. Like Luke does hold his own for the most part in the lightsaber battle as well.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, I honestly think that Darth Vader only is able to chop off his hand just because he's such a brute.
Oh yeah.
It's not actually because he's skillful in his use of the lightsaber.
No.
He's just bashing down on him.
Yeah.
Which I suppose that that's how Luke defeats Vader in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He pretty much repeats that same sort of beating move.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish I didn't know the twist, honestly.
Me too.
Because I'm sure that would have blown people's minds in the cinema.
I'd imagine so, yeah, at the time.
But pretty much every film that I ever want to see has just been ruined for me.
Yeah.
There's just because of the internet, every single twist has been spoiled.
I would say it's probably the most famous movie line and scene of all time.
Well, you say that, but I mean, almost everyone gets the line wrong, even though it's so iconic. And that this is, allegedly the Mandela effect, where we live in a parallel universe, and we're having memories of another one where we heard the line, "Luke, I am your father," but of course it's "No, I am your father." Did you remember that, Matthew?
No, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no.
I was going with Luke, I am your father.
No, it's actually because he says, Obi-Wan says you killed him, and then he says, "No, I am your father."
Yeah.
But actually, in the original script, which was given to obviously all the cast, including Mark Hamill,
Yeah.
Mark Hamill did find out, I think on the day of shooting, what the actual twist was, and he was told not to tell anyone. But in the shooting script, the twist was actually, no, Obi-Wan killed your father, and sort of retroactively, Obi-Wan became the villain of the series. And I honestly think that is much more interesting.
That is really interesting because he's portrayed as such an innocent and noble man.
Obviously this story arc is great in him turning out to be his father and then them sorting through those issues. But what would have been an equally or more interesting story would have been, the first one is this innocent sweet old man is training him in the ways of the Force. The second one, you find out he's the true villain, and then the third one, Luke embraces the dark side because he's been taught by an evil person in the ways of the dark side of the Force secretly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it retroactively maybe even turns out that the Empire are the good guys.
Oh man.
I honestly think
that'd be better, I think.
I mean, let's not throw that out there, because people may send us death threats, but I think that would have been.
This is still good to a twist, though.
Yeah, but I think that would have been an incredibly compelling idea.
Absolutely.
And, I'm surprised that George Lucas thought of that and then decided not to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what else? I mean, I think Mark Hamill actually prefers that because he said on the Graham Norton show that that blew his mind, and then when he heard the actual one, I don't think he was as interested. But what ifs?
I think Luke's reaction to that is good.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way Luke survives that is just to an air vent.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to someone the other day. I think we were both speaking to him, and we were talking about Leia's use of the Force in Episode 8, and how she was able to fly through space. And they said, there's been no existence of flying before. But I mean, the way he throws himself into that air vent was essentially him flying.
Yeah.
Using the Force.
Or
so
at least manipulating.
Yeah. So I think the Leia's use of the Force in that way is more justified by this, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough.
I am glad that Luke and Leia didn't get any grosser. I mean, they kind of they cuddle by a window at the end.
Yeah.
And that kind of was shuddering.
Yeah.
But it didn't get as gross as it could have been.
Yeah. At least it's nipped in the bud,
Yeah.
For the most part. But Callum, what would you rate this film, bud?
Well, this film is widely known as I think it's regarded amongst Terminator Judgment Day as a sequel that's better than the original, and honestly I fully agree with that.
Me too.
From what you've seen.
From what I've seen.
Yep. Oh yeah, I just realised. Wait, how do you know he escaped through an air vent? Have you seen a clip of that?
Yeah.
Okay. And I agree, it's an improvement on the original, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because for whatever reason I actually like this film, and I can't believe it.
I'm not gonna rate it until I watch the rest of it later on.
That's a noble stance, Matthew.
Thank you.
So I suppose I just speak for the two of us in saying, I mean, you liked it up to the point that you saw it, didn't you?
Absolutely.
It was just an issue of time.
Yeah. But I suppose we should move on to our third and final film for this episode, Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
No, I have not made any notes for this film because I've seen it a few times, but I might maybe a bit iffy on some of the plot. But from what I remember, I love this film. Genuinely great.
Well, when did you last see it, Matthew?
I would say
5 years ago?
yeah, but six maybe.
6?
Yeah, but
But you assure me you've seen it multiple
multiple
times?
100%.
Okay.
I love this. I love the fact that this film shows how Luke has like grown as a character. Like he's not like a naive young boy anymore. Like he's a Jedi. I mean, we see him perform mind tricks.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one to, ratify him as a Jedi Knight because they're all dead and there's no Jedi Council. But, in essence, he is a Jedi Knight. He's been through the trials on Dagobah, and,
He's fought Vader.
In the first scene, I think it's fully evident that, he's pretty much, come full circle and
He's
is
not to be messed with.
in his peak condition.
Yeah. Plus the green lightsaber is awesome.
Oh, it's a massive improvement on the blue one, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm so confused about in the sequel trilogy where does the green lightsaber go?
Yeah,
because they always talk about Luke's the MacGuffin of Episode 7 is Luke's lightsaber, but it's the blue one, and that's not the
I
one.
prefer the green one.
And the blue one is Anakin's. The green one is the one that Luke Skywalker built.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the green one's way cooler.
Oh,
I think it looks
absolutely.
really
Yeah. So the original title was actually Revenge of the Jedi, but George Lucas, decided that Revenge wasn't a Jedi concept, but I mean it clearly is.
Oh yeah.
Because they're constantly killing people for doing stuff.
I think Return's probably a better title for it. It works. It's more like a.
But the Jedi don't really come back. Luke is the only remaining Jedi, and I suppose if he trains more, maybe.
Yeah.
But then instantly in Episode 7, we're back to them being under a regime and the Jedi being gone again.
Mm, yeah.
So I don't think it's accurate.
So Episode 7 negates that plot. I
Yeah,
suppose, of,
yeah.
Jedi coming full circle. But no, I think a lot of the film, from what I can remember since I last seen it, was centered around Jabba's palace. That's a lot of
Yeah,
the film.
the first 30 minutes or so are all set on Jabba's homeworld.
Yeah.
Which that's Tatooine as well, isn't it? Yeah, I think so.
I think Jabba looks awesome in this. He's huge.
Oh, I think Jabba looks amazing, but all the CGI additions that have been made to his palace are horrific. Because they added CGI singers and performers, and they look hideous. They all look like weird bug creatures, but they all look so out of place.
Yeah.
I am kind of against most of the changes that have been made, but there are some changes made for the better that I'll talk about later.
What are your opinions of the way they treat Leia in this film?
Do you mean as kind of like a sex object?
Yeah.
Where they just sort of parade her around in sexy outfits?
Yeah.
Well, obviously I'm against that, and I don't know whose vision that was.
No, I think it's a very dated vision. Like, it's very 1980s.
Yeah, I'm glad that she at least got, to be part of the action in all three of the films, because before, obviously I hadn't seen the films, I didn't know how involved she was, and I was glad to see that she was actually, a main point, like a main character in the action in every action scene, and she's actually the one to kill Jabba.
Yeah.
So I guess it was more saying that, like, Jabba is a misogynistic piece of shit.
Yeah.
And, they had to over-exaggerate that so that her killing him was justified.
Yeah.
And
She brutally chokes him.
that was her escaping his misogyny and his slavery
His
of
tyranny
her.
and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was quite underwhelmed by the Bantha fight. Do you remember that? It's like the weird creature whose cage they throw them into.
Oh yeah. I suppose it is a little like underwhelming. Like, are you talking about like the pit? So like underground.
Well, there's
underground
like
prison?
the cage for the Bantha, and then there's the Sarlacc pit.
Mhm.
Kind of weird that there's just like two, like sort of Godzilla-like,
Similar creatures. Yeah.
similar murderous
I
creatures.
mean, we'll talk about Boba Fett's death regarding that in a minute, but
Yeah.
I suppose it is a bit underwhelming. Like, it's very poorly shot. It's so dark.
Yeah, it is. It's incredibly dark, and it's over within about 30 seconds. And I think the Bantha itself looks poor.
Yeah, I would agree.
So right after they've faced Jabba, Luke goes back to Dagobah to see Yoda, and Yoda's just being an evasive dickhead.
Yeah.
Luke's like, "But is Darth Vader my father?" And he's like, "I must rest now."
I must rest. I'm dead. Bye.
Yeah. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
It's not until after he dies that Luke speaks to Obi-Wan Kenobi and finds out that Leia is his sister. Yeah, I mean, he seemed excited by that.
He's like, I've kissed her.
No, he's like, ooh, Leia, my sister. And then later,
Twins.
Han Solo asks Leia, "Do you love Luke?" And then she says, "Well, yes." And then he says, "Oh, then I'll not stand in your way." And she's like, "No, not like that. He's my brother." And then Han Solo like smiles. I'm like, you should probably like vomit. You've been kissing this woman who's kissed her own brother.
Yeah, but
Grim.
Yeah, but Boba Fett's demise in this film is thoroughly
Embarrassing.
disappointing. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's not disappointing. It's definitely embarrassing because I think it just shows how inept of a character he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how he survived as a bounty hunter, and I can't believe that that was the genetic template used for all the clones.
Yeah, he is victim to a faulty jetpack, isn't he?
Yeah, and then obviously they retroactively had the actor of Jango Fett voice Boba Fett.
Mm.
So it's quite commanding voice, the New Zealand accent. I enjoy it.
Me too.
But yeah, I honestly, it happened so quickly. I did not see it. I didn't actually.
Oh, so it's over.
I was watching the film and I looked down to take some notes down, and then I looked back up and he was dead.
Yeah. I think the design of the pit is great practical effects again.
Yeah.
With the little teeth and stuff.
Again, I did not really see it because it was such a
monotone shot. Sort of.
No, I'm trying to say it only lasted a moment, but
Momentary?
there isn't. Yes, momentary. Thank you, Matthew.
Anytime, buddy.
English A level kids.
Don't do it.
We have listeners who. So Matthew, Ewoks, yay or nay?
Yay, big time. Love them.
It is a nay from me.
Oh, but they're cute.
Yeah, they're cute. I mean, honestly, I usually don't like in films when there's an alien character and the only way to know what they're saying is have another person explain what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy that. I don't mind if they're speaking in an alien language and you see subtitles, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I don't like the translator idea.
Yeah, true. I think that the costumes are cool, for the most part.
Yeah, Warwick Davis, I believe, played one of the Ewoks. I think that was his first induction into the Star Wars films. Yeah.
Cool.
And then obviously retroactively George Lucas added blinking because people said that the Ewoks just stared into their soul.
Oh man.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed seeing Leia's incredibly caring nature with the Ewoks.
Oh, she's adorable. So she didn't know that's gonna be a weird thing to say.
No,
she treats them
she treats them so nicely,
yeah.
And even when the Ewoks sort of ignoring her or appearing violent, she continues to charm him.
I love how the Ewoks are they turn beasts. They're brutal.
Oh yeah, no, they're just killing the Imperials left and right. Yeah, it's hilarious. And then Leia says to Luke when he tells her that they're brother and sister, she says, "Somehow I always knew." I'm like, then why the fuck did you tell him?
Yeah, she wanted that kiss, didn't she?
Yeah, Leia. I think Leia sort of corrupted herself in my brain with that statement.
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all. So, I don't really understand how the Emperor thinks killing Luke's friends will get him to join him.
Yeah.
It's even more perplexing than him letting Padme die and then Anakin still joining him. I still don't understand because Anakin didn't actually believe in the Empire. He believed in getting that ultimate power to save Padme.
Mm-hmm.
So they never actually explain at what point he was properly corrupted. That's never actually shown. That's sort of a gap in the canon. What are you looking at, Matthew?
How old the guy who played the Emperor is? He's only 75.
Ian McDiarmid?
Yeah.
He's only 75?
Yeah. He doesn't play him in The Empire Strikes Back. It's played by a guy called Clive Revill, who's 89. He's also still alive.
Yeah, but that was in the original version, in the theatrical version. Obviously, in the version that I watched, it is Ian McDiarmid. Yeah. And then originally it was a woman who played the Emperor. Yeah. Cool. They were still playing the Emperor. They were playing a male character, but it was a woman.
The Empress.
But I have a feeling that was that in the first film? It was either in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, but it was at one point played by a woman.
Cool.
Yeah, just Darth Vader is just so shit with the lightsaber. There's one point where he literally just lobs his lightsaber, like he doesn't jump up to fight Luke. He just literally hurls his lightsaber to like cut something down from the ceiling to drop on Luke. Like, it's pathetic.
I think the Luke Vader lightsaber battle is probably good. I think it's probably the best scene of the film for me.
Oh, it's I think it's the best scene of the film, and I think it's probably the second most impressive third act fight scene in Star Wars, aside from Rogue One. I was genuinely impressed with that, and they balanced it well with the amount of dialogue and music.
What are your opinions on the Emperor effects?
The lightning.
Yeah.
Oh, incredibly poor, but tolerable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how Luke Skywalker isn't dead after he was like fried for several minutes.
I know. Yeah, I like the arc that Vader like helps his son, I suppose. Like, he's not a terrible person.
I don't like it at all, because he is a terrible person. He killed younglings, to quote Obi-Wan. I
slaughtered them.
Yay! He killed the Sand People. He destroyed multiple planets. He killed a bunch of rebels. But he saved one guy, so he gets to go to Force Heaven. What a guy. He's really earned it.
He is a ghost in this film, isn't he? I've just realised.
Yeah, he goes to Force Heaven with Yoda and
Obi-Wan.
And he returns as Hayden Christensen. Like, again, they retroactively added Hayden Christensen in.
No, he didn't they?
Yeah, no, because originally it was, Sebastian Shaw, but, like, without the burn makeup.
Yeah.
And then they added it after the prequel trilogy came out, they added it so that it was Hayden Christensen. Which I kind of like, because it kind of brings him full circle. Like, if you're going to have Vader go to Force Heaven for literally just protecting his son, which is, like, the bare minimum you can do.
I'm going to try to see, like, Darth Vader's egghead.
Egghead? Yeah, why is it? Do you not have it on the brain?
No, I do have it on the brain, I just wanted to refresh myself.
Fun fact, like, another change that not Han Solo, George Lucas did, was that in the original theatrical release, he actually had eyebrows.
On that one?
Yeah, he had like thick black eyebrows, and then he realized, wait, no, like, if he's been like burnt to a crisp, like, he won't have any hair. So they actually took away the eyebrows, which I think is widely I think that's probably the most appreciated change from the original.
Old man.
Yeah, he's meant to be 45, but he looks in his 60s.
Yeah, the lightsaber battles do show that. Like, he looks a lot older than 45.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I really don't find that redemption believable. I don't think he deserves to go to Force Heaven.
Fair enough.
And again, David Prowse was dicked over again in not being able to play Vader.
Who played Vader?
Sebastian Shaw.
Yeah.
So I do feel bad for David Prowse.
Oh, me too.
Were there any final thoughts you had, despite not having any notes?
No, nothing.
No. So just a rating from you?
I'd probably give it a 9. I really like it.
Right.
Yeah. What about yourself, bud?
Well, how do you think it compares to the other ones?
I think because of the nostalgia, I watched it since I was a kid. It's my favorite.
Right.
I don't know if it's the best. Yeah. Okay. It's probably my favorite of the three.
I think it's the worst of the three. So I'd probably have to give it an 8. So I do think that Empire Strikes Back is the best. I'm a basic bitch. For once I agree with the popular opinion.
But on the overall thoughts of the franchise, you do like it.
I love the franchise, yeah, because I expected to really dislike it, and then when I started episode 4, I was like, I'm not really feeling this. But by the end,
Loved it.
I was into it. But I still can't see why people are like obsessed with it. I recognize that all the films individually are good, but I don't get why it's so iconic. Like, there's some films that are like sort of like hidden gems that like you never hear people talk about, and then there's ones that people always talk about, which are like Terminator and Star Wars, and I've watched both of those franchises in their entirety for the most part. If you'd like to wrap things up, you can go ahead.
Calum, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, guys. We really do appreciate it. To everyone who comments, likes, subscribes, all that good stuff. Honestly, thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. But anyway, yes, that'll be us, guys.